Have you been looking for a way to stay focused on your goals and grow your MSP? Accountability groups from RocketMSP can help. We offer weekly accountability sessions that meet online with a group of your peers. Your success begins with accountability. Go to www.rocketmsp.io to join your accountability group today.
I am. I'm actually trying.
Oh boy!
And now my IKEA tree has moved. It's walked away. Hang on.
Your tree has moved?
It's walked away. It's my IKEA tree that I bring for podcasts and.
Oh, that's funny.
Hang on. Let's get it.
Well, hey, good news. On with the show, you said. So, hey guys, welcome to another. Oh boy!
It's my IKEA tree. Welcome to the IKEA tree show.
Yeah. Well, you already know where you're at, guys. We'll skip all that. I've got James Vickery here today with me. Benchmark 365. You were actually just here a few weeks ago.
I was, and I had the time of my life, and so I'm really glad to be back.
I too had the time of my life. I forgot how fun it is to talk with you. We need to never wait as long as we did again.
I agree. I totally agree. In fact, let's do this again next week.
Maybe.
We'll give it a few weeks. We'll see how this one goes.
I got to keep my Australian times down to like 2 a month. Otherwise, I start getting yelled at.
Well, I mean, we were just talking before the show that you had Jamie Warner from Envirosoft on the show.
Yeah, he was here yesterday.
It was yesterday, and he was like, I saw him a few days ago. He was like, man, I've got to do this show at 2 a.m. And I was like, ha! Because I've managed to negotiate at 7 a.m. for me, which is, it's still a little early, but at least I've got time for coffee.
Yeah.
I'm awake.
2 a.m. doesn't...
Yeah.
2 a.m. doesn't feel early. It feels late. You know what I mean? Like
it doesn't feel like a time of day for me at all. I know we're 24/7 by 365, but I'm not. I'm personally not 24/7. But Jamie, everyone should check out Envirosoft. Everyone should check out that product. It's good.
I agree. It is a really neat product. I honestly didn't expect it to be as cool as it was.
They've done a lot of work, haven't they, in recent times? Yeah.
So not that I don't love talking about other people's businesses, but let's talk about what we said we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
So you said, hey, you know what? Why don't you explain it? Because I'm sure you can do this much better than me. I just know that you really enjoy helping the MSP community. So why don't you fill people in on what your vision is for today?
Cool. Thank you again for having me on the show. I just feel, I've been in this industry for 20 years. Started as an MSP. Actually didn't start as an MSP. Let's face it. I started as a computer guy. Someone that went around and fixed people's computers, and I would just knock on doors and charge an hourly rate, and then eventually we became an MSP later on down the track. And the thing that I always struggled with was sales, or I thought that I struggled with sales because I was a tech. I was a techie guy. I wasn't a sales guy. I didn't really like the idea of being a sales guy either. But over the years, I got, I think, reasonably good at it and got really good at handling objections as well. So I'm on a bit of a mission to get everyone in our industry up to a particular level, because I think that we really should value who we are, and I think that we should be paid really well for what we do. I think
amen to that.
Yeah, and so anything that I can do to help with that, I think benefits everybody. I think it's great for the industry. I think the more that our industry is charging, the better it is for everybody. Right? I think the better that we all are at sales, the more we can agree that there are some standards. There are some professional standards, and we tend to have those in other industries, and we tend to lack those in the MSP space. And so I'd like to see that improve. And anytime I can jump on a show and talk about that sort of stuff, that's what I'm going to do, man.
That's very cool. And I know that, you've got your own podcast, but it almost feels like this podcast might be better in some regards, only because of how long I make this thing. What you don't know is I recently, like literally last week, I started doing it to where all of my episodes that happen on YouTube, I'm now like cutting them up and uploading smaller chunks. But now it's like 3 or 4 parts or 2 or 3 parts. What are you doing, Kat? She's been crazy today. Last episode was a treat, let me tell you. So at some point, I'm going to pause. I'll click my tongue 3 times, pause again, and then I'll like continue with another question. And that's just making it easier for me to like find the break point to split it until I figure out a better solution. So without further ado, I put together kind of like an agenda. And full disclosure, I mean, I do put an agenda together for pretty much all of these, but this one I feel like I did it a lot differently, just because we're talking about sales objections.
Yeah. And by the way, everybody, he sends this to the guest about 3 minutes before the show and says, No, you sent it to me, 2 days ago? It's just that I just read it 3 minutes before the show.
Oh, so earlier I was with Dale Walls and he printed it out. It was, I swear it looked like he laminated the thing. I think he turned it into a booklet. That guy is super prepared. I guess, being a Marine will do that to you.
Yeah.
So I know very quickly, James, you've got Benchmark 365. It is basically a help desk knock outsourcing service, and your team are all in Philippines?
Yes, Philippines and Australia. Yeah.
And the cool thing about the Philippines is they actually sound more American than some Americans, just because of how they learn their English. So if you're worried about the dialect or rough English or anything like that, you don't have to worry about that with Benchmark. Reach out to James or just go to benchmark365.com and you can learn all about the help desk service. Today, I feel like some of this stuff applies to Benchmark too, but I feel like what we're really talking about is your MSP. So can we get some background on your MSP? Like, how big is it? What's your annual revenue like? That kind of stuff.
Sure. So I don't focus too much on the MSP side of my businesses anymore because Benchmark has just gone absolutely mental since we started the company 5 years ago. We started Benchmark just purely through people knocking on my door in the channel saying, "Hey, how did you do that Philippines thing? You used to be the smallest MSP in town. Now you seem like you're winning business all the time." And we did that by being able to scale. Let's just call a spade a spade. Labor's really expensive. I think most MSPs I speak to in the United States are struggling to keep up with wage growth when it comes to engineers. And yet what we've seen is stagnant MSP pricing for nearly 20 years. And I wrote a book about that called Infinite Scale and so on. And so our MSP started back in 2003. It wasn't an MSP, as I said. It was just me running around fixing computers and trying to look good and trying to just make a buck. Over time, we grew that to around 9 people in Sydney and grew it to, at that particular point in time, about 1.5 million in revenue, not making any money. truth be told. By the time I paid 9 people in Sydney, by the time I paid for an office, by the time I paid for all the stuff that I needed to do, there wasn't really much left over for me. And so we started a journey of offshoring business. Pretty much ended up around 2.5 after we did that, because I focused almost all of my time and energy on sales. And then since then, sort of remained around that level and focused more on the benchmark side of things. It's where my people and my attention are these days.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
It does.
About 55 customers, mostly in New South Wales, Australia, but a little bit in the north and the south. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And today, I suspect your MSP has a pretty healthy profit margin, thanks to the Philippines.
It does. Yeah. Yes, it does, and other reasons as well around rethinking everything about the model. Everything about the model. I mean, the challenge that we have in our industry is that the vendors are very good at selling products to managed service providers, particularly smaller, vulnerable managed service providers, where it's like, buy our PSA and once you've got that in place, your MSP will scale. Buy our RMM and you'll be able to sell thousands and thousands and thousands of endpoints. The sky's the limit, blah, 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 blah. And so, when I started the outsourcing component, I also started to look at other industries and how they would skin the cat. And they skin the cat a lot differently from us. So, there are just things that we just spend less money on than the average MSP. And we get the same result. We get the exact same result, if not a better result. And so that's why that MSP is very profitable. Yeah.
So before we jump into sales objections, let's take a brief moment to make sure MSPs are even able to ask questions that people can object to. So marketing,
right?
You got to do some marketing. I mean, sure, referrals happen and cold leads from Google can happen, but for the most part, when you went and obtained new prospects, it was through marketing, networking, that type of stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
So what does your marketing process look like, or what did your process look like when you were really going strong with the MSP and bringing on new clients?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that growing a professional services business, because that's what an MSP is. It's not a product business. We're not selling widgets on Amazon. We're selling ourselves. We're selling our expertise and our professionalism. That is a marathon, not a race, right? So everybody's looking for that edge where you're going to get 10 leads a day, and people are lining up with wads of cash, and they just want to buy your managed services. I just don't think that's a reality. I think that most professional services businesses endure for something like 20 to 25 years. For most people, this is their business for life. And they operate within their community. So for me, that's Sydney. For other people, that's wherever they are. And so I think when it comes to marketing, it's first and foremost about your own personal brand, particularly when you're smaller, and about people knowing that they can call upon you at some point. But that might not be today. That might not be, I think I heard even Jamie from Envirosoft say, if blood's not gushing, then people aren't going to buy managed services from you. Right? Generally speaking, if they don't have a problem today, generally speaking, they won't buy from you. And so for me, it's always been about building network and building relationships and being there when the blood's gushing, like being that first person that pops into their mind, person, not brand name. All right. And I think the next thing that people tend to make the mistake of in early stage, I've made it, everybody's made this, is thinking that your brand is the thing that's going to resonate. Get a really great logo, get a website, do blah, 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 blah. But you don't have the marketing capital typically to build that brand to be a household name, right? It's not easy to do. But you, as a person, as an individual, as a trusted advisor, as a person of interest, you can market yourself and people remember. Now, if I remember Steve Taylor, that's Steve. Call Steve. Steve will help you out. It's not call I know IT. It's call James. Talk to James. James will help you. And so I think marketing is about first and foremost building up your brand and your network.
With that said, you didn't answer the question.
I mean sales, man. I don't know.
No, yeah, you're practically a politician. So what does your marketing process look like? Big picture. Like, do you have, a lead magnet on a website, an ad in the newspaper? What? How do you start with people?
Right. Well, that it might sound actually. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned the politician, because that's what politicians do. It's very manual, not automatic. It's very standing out on the street corner, so to speak, handing out flyers and business cards. I'm not saying you should do that as an MSP, but if you look at the most successful politicians, they know how to connect with people, so they're at places where there are people. What does my methodology look like? You're just not going to like it. It's in my book, Infinite Scale. You're not going to like it because it's not sexy and exciting, but it's organizing lunch. So finding a client and saying, hey, I've got another client and I think you guys would get along really well. I'd like to take you both out to lunch, right? Two people talking about, and then saying to them, hey, could you invite somebody else along for lunch? Is there somebody else that you think might enjoy lunch? Another service provider, an insurance broker, a financial planner, an accountant. If you're verticalizing, you grab your accountant and say, can you invite another accountant along for lunch? My treat, right? These are people that then you have lunch with, you have a beer with, you have wine with, or whatever it might be. I know not everybody's a drinker, but that over the course of 2 hours, sitting together, eating, chatting, talking, learning, these people are statistically more likely when they have a problem to phone you up. And they are statistically more likely to remember you because you had a nice lunch with them one day, right? And so everyone's like, what's my, I've got to do AdWords, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that. Yes, we'll talk about that in a moment. I think these things are important as well. But the real, where my couple of million business came from was that, not from advertising.
So when you take people out to lunch, what are you talking about with them? Because the one thing that I think people here sometimes need to be reminded of is your employees are not your friends. They're not your buddies. You don't send the dirty meme jokes to them and that kind of stuff. Neither are your clients. Think of your client as your boss. So right. What are you talking about with two clients and their connections at the lunch table?
Yeah. So whatever you like, but I think that it's not pitchy, it's not salesy. I think it's collaborative. Most businesses are small, Steve. Most businesses, even when you're just starting out, you think, oh, that big, accounting firm, or that big law firm, or that big. Most of them are small businesses that are just a little bit further ahead than maybe you are. They might have more years in the game. They might have been at it for 10 years and you've been at it for 2. So they're not bigger because they're smarter or better than you. They've just got time in the game. But I think that being able to sit down and say, these are actually some of the challenges we're having in getting to market could be a good conversation. What are some of your challenges in acquiring new clients? Who are your ideal customers, and how can I refer them to you? Who's the best person at your firm to put them in touch with? So it's like you. So you're right. Yeah, you don't want to be talking about like personal necessarily being best friends with them or best mates with them, but what you want to do is say, how can I help your business? What are some of the challenges your business is having? Right? What are some of the issues? What's the number one objection you get when you try to sell your accounting service or your legal service? What's the objection? right? And having a collaboration, and then they might ask you the same question, and things build over time. It's not a sure thing. And obviously, the bigger you make these lunches and the bigger the groups and the more people you invite, the more statistically likely you're going to have transactions occur off the back of that.
That is really cool. And it sounds like, I don't know if you've ever been a member of BNI, but it sounds like you're taking the giver's gain approach to these luncheons.
Yeah, I've been a BNI member before. The chapter that I was in wasn't the greatest. I think like a good chunk of the members were, photographers and, bit micro businesses that weren't going to buy managed services. And
Or they're more like B2C or MLM selling jewelry out of their trunk or whatever.
Right. And the danger of that is you get referrals that are just noise. And
my grandma's computer has a virus.
Right. Exactly right. But one thing that I learned through BNI is getting that elevator pitch down pat. And also being very clear and very specific, like, guys, don't refer me anything but. And at the time, I think our primary target market was law firms. And so it was like, don't refer anything but law firms to us through this group. That's all we wanted. So being very clear about what you want helps. And I know for a lot of your audience, they're maybe not quite sure what they want and just want clients, just want money coming in the door. Yeah.
And I'd like to think that everyone here has at least a couple clients. Are things going well at those clients? What industries are those clients? Ask them who else in that same industry in the area that they would like to refer you to.
Yeah.
Obviously you got to say it in a sexier way than that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So I think, so your question was, or you said the politician. I think politicians, as much as people can criticize them, some politicians actually get millions and millions of votes, right? And they do that through a lot of grassroots effort, a lot of relationship building, a lot of showing up in Australia. Our voting happens at the schools. So, like, when the voting time comes around, everybody goes to the local school, and we have a barbecue and we vote, right? And the politicians are always there, and they're always saying, "G'day, how you going?" Shaking hands. Where you from? What street do you live on? Oh, right. Well, we're actually doing some works around there and wanted to tell you about it, and so on. Politicians are masters at this. I don't like politicians any more than you do, but they've figured out that they can't just go digital. They have to go analog. They have to knock on doors. They have to actually go out and meet people. And the funny thing is, while everybody's going digital, when you're analog, you're the only one. You're the only one. You're the only one that took the time to actually go and see them and have a chat and, bring them a cup of coffee and offer them a sandwich and build a proper relationship, break bread. That's how I built my business. That's and to this, yeah. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
What would you tell the small MSP, the startup MSP that has zero marketing budget, zero taking people out to lunch budget?
Yeah. Just get out and meet people. And these days, it's easy. So I feel like really old, but I started nearly 20 years ago. So LinkedIn wasn't around. The social media wasn't a thing. And so I literally, I was in debt. I had no money. And I took my remaining few $100 that I had in credit available on my credit card, and I went to a printer, and I had a couple of 100 business cards printed. And then what I did is I went and I lived in the southern part of Sydney, and I went door to door. And I said, "Hi, my name's James. I've recently started an IT business. Don't want to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to leave my card in case you're having any IT issues. Give me a call." And I was very fortunate that within the first week of doing that, I managed to pick up three customers, and one of them needed some new computers. And so that first deal was 10 grand.
20 years ago, you actually got to make some money on computers.
And you actually made margin. And you know what? I didn't even know what distribution was. I'd never heard of Ingram or any of these. And so I went to the local computer shop, which was 5 doors down, And I said, build 5 computers. And then I put a margin on it and took them back to the office, and I installed them. And they never once said I could have gone to the store. There's 5 doors down. They never once said I could have gone to the store and done that myself. And that's when I learned what a valuable service I could provide to these businesses, because even though they could have just DIY'd that, they didn't. And they paid me probably not enough now that I think about it back then, but it was enough at the time. It was very, very, very exciting. And it was because I took the time to actually interrupt their day and say, how can I help you? Today, I would go digital. I don't know about door knocking anymore. I haven't done it for so long that I'm not an expert on it. But at the time, that worked really well. But today, I would door knock via LinkedIn. I would start that. I would do that same kind of thing, but I would use LinkedIn because there's just significantly more scale to do that.
So when you get past the "Hi, I'm James," blah 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 blah, now you're working on LinkedIn, or maybe you're doing cold calling, and I suspect the first thing that you're trying to do once you introduce yourself is get a meeting after you qualify them as a prospect that you want to do business with, right? So when you try and get this meeting, they're probably going to tell you they're busy, or they just don't want to, or they love their IT guy.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're not necessarily trying to get a meeting. And this is a marathon, not a race. We're not trying to cross the finish line right now. We're just trying to build a network, a community. Even today, we get a lot of inquiry at Benchmark. We don't do a lot of pushy, I don't go out and ask any MSP if they've ever received a call from Benchmark 365, like a cold call or a disruptive email from us. We don't do that. What I do is this, get out, try to meet as many MSPs as I can, try to talk, try to listen, try to hear objections, so that I can build trust, right, in the marketplace. So no, we're not trying to get a meeting, but one thing that you can do, one little tip I would offer, is when you introduce yourself, you might offer a solution to a problem they might be having. And so an example of that is you might say, hey, my name is Steve. I'm from, what's the name of your MSP, Steve? Taylor IT Group. So, hey, my name's Steve, Taylor IT Group. I'm in the local area, and I just thought it'd be great to connect. That's it. Just great to connect. It'd be great to connect. Great to know you. That's it. No sell, no push. Hey, can I have a coffee? Can we have a meeting? Can we have lunch? None of that. We're not trying to get married. Just hey. But then what you might say is something like, one of the reasons that people reach out to me is that I've been able to save them X $1,000 on licensing from Microsoft, because most people don't realize that they're overpaying. If you'd ever like me to come and take a look, just let me know. It's not going to cost anything, but it's something that I've helped a lot of local businesses do. Or a lot of local businesses don't realize that their data is not backed up. And I'd be happy to come in and just give you a professional opinion. No harm, no foul, and no rush. See you later. No follow-up. Just, I'm here if you need me. That's it.
But
is that hard?
Okay.
Is it?
No.
So, yeah. And what everybody's looking for is like, great, come Steve right now. And you're like, great, here's my pricing and here's my billing and no, we're just trying to build and establish in the mind of the prospective buyer or the prospective referrer who you are and what you do. That's it. Just who you are and what you do, because they don't know you from a bar of soap. They don't know you at all. They've never heard of you and they don't care about you. But now they've got someone that just introduced themselves and they're like, great. And you might say, and hey, if you ever want to tell me about what you do, let me know. I'd love to talk to you.
Hey, thanks for listening to part 1. Be sure to check back tomorrow for the next episode.